So we are going to remember everything we did with one-step equations, and now we are going to do two-step equations. And two-step equations are actually not that bad. They are just adding one more layer onto one-step equations. And they're just really putting adding and subtracting one-step equations together with multiplying and dividing one-step equations. So it's not anything really new, it's just putting both of them together. So just a quick reminder of the golden rule of equations. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign, and that applies for all types of equations. Okay, so how do you solve two-step equations? And this should say two-step equations right here. So please fix that on your notes. So we're going to start with the same first step, and that is you're going to box the variable. And a two-step equation is going to have, the difference is that it's going to have a constant and it's going to also have a coefficient. And so it's going to look like this, 2x plus 6 equals 18. And so you're still going to do step 1, box the variable. Step 2 is you're going to use an inverse operation to move the constant away from the variable. So the first thing you're going to do is always move the constant away. So you're going to use addition or subtraction first. That's always going to be the first thing. So in this case, we have a plus 6, so we're going to use minus 6 and we're going to move it away. Okay, so we're going to bring down the 2x because this plus 6 and minus 6 canceled out. 18 minus 6 is 12, and so we're left with 2x equals 12. And from here, all we have is a one-step equation. And so again, I'm going to box the variable, and I have multiplication here, so I'm going to do division. So I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to end up with x equals 6. And so that last step, step 3, is to use inverse operations to move the coefficient away from the variable. So if you notice what a two-step equation is the first thing you have to do is an adding and subtracting one-step equation, and then the second thing you have to do is a multiplying dividing one-step equation. Okay, and so really it's not that bad. Now I'm going to take it up a level towards the end. I'm going to add in some distributive properties, some combining like terms, but these are all things that you're very familiar with. But I'm going to keep it simple at first. All right, so step 1, we have 3x plus 1 equals 7. So step 1 is I'm going to go ahead and box the variable. Okay, I'm going to find my constant, which is plus 1, and I'm going to do minus 1 and minus 1 because both sides of the equal sign. Okay, my plus 1 minus 1 is going to cancel, and I'm left with 3x, and I'm going to bring down my equal sign. 7 minus 1 is 6. Okay, now I have a very simple one-step equation. 3x equals 6. I'm going to box my variable. I'm going to divide by 3, and I'm going to divide by 3, and I'm left with x equals 2. And that is my final answer. Now the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing about equations is just like one-step equations with two-step equations, I can also check my answer. So all I have to do is take this 2 and plug it back in for x. So 3 parentheses 2 plus 1 equals 7. Just make sure you do your order of operations, so your multiplication first. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 equals 7. 7 equals 7. Check. Done. All right, let's take a look at this one here. So I'm going to box off my variable. Here is my constant. I'm going to handle this first. I have a minus 3, so my inverse is plus 3, and I'm going to do it to both sides of the equal sign. My minus 3 and plus 3 cancel, so I'm left with 4x. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. 25 plus 3 is going to be 28. And now I have a one-step equation. 4x equals 28. I'm going to box my variable, divide by 4, and I'm left with x equals 7. And I should always check my answer because there's really no reason not to. So 4 parentheses 7 minus 3 equals 25. So 4 times 7 is 28, minus 3 equals 25. 28 minus 3 is 25 equals 25, and that works out perfect. right, so again, 5y plus 1 equals 26. I'm going to go ahead and box my variable. I have a plus 1, so I'm going to do minus 1, minus 1. My plus 1 minus 1, they cancel, and I'm left with 5y. I bring down my equal sign. 26 minus 1 is 25. I have a one-step equation, 5y equals 25. I'm going to box my variable. I have multiplication here, so my inverse is division. So I'm going to divide by 5, divide by 5. And my answer here is y equals 5. And I'm going to go ahead and check my answer because it's a fantastic habit. So 5 times 5 plus 1 equals 26. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 equals 26. 25 plus 1 is 26 equals 26, and that works out perfectly. Just a quick note, make sure that you're following the steps and that you don't mix them up. You absolutely must take care of the constant before you take care of the coefficient. You cannot start by dividing 5 first and then going back and doing the plus and minus 1. You have got to take care of your constant first. It's very important that you follow those steps. All right, let's go ahead and box our variable. And then we have minus 8 here, so I'm going to do plus 8, plus 8. Remember, we have to do both sides of the equal sign. Our minus 8 and plus 8 will cancel, and we bring down 2n. We're going to bring down our equal sign, and 34 plus 8 is going to be 42. We have 2n equals 42, basic one-step equation. So we have multiplication here, so we're going to divide by 2, and n equals 21. And we're going to go ahead and check our answer. So 2 times 21 minus 8 equals 34. 2 times 21 is 42 minus 8 equals 34. All right, 42 minus 8, 3, 12, 4, 34 equals 34. Always good idea to double, triple check. All right, all I did here is I flipped it around so that it looks weird, but it's the same exact thing. Box your variable. We need to take care of our constant first. So we have minus 9 because it's a plus 9, and we're going to do minus 9 over here. So these guys cancel. We're left with 2m. Bring down our equal sign. And then negative 1 plus negative 9 is going to be negative 10. And we're left with negative 10 equals 2m. It just looks weird because it's flipped around. Box your variable. We have multiplication going on, so we're going to do division. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5 equals m, but we always need to have the variable on the left, so m equals negative 5. But you can check your work, and in these situations it's a good idea because some people might be a little bit uneasy about their result. So negative 1 equals 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 plus 9. Negative 1 equals negative 10 plus 9 is negative 1. And you have your calculator to help you check. All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and box the variable. We have an 8 here. I know that there's no plus sign in front of it, but you know that it's positive, and so the answer, or the opposite of positive, is negative. So we're going to do minus 8 and minus 8. These cancel. Now be careful here. You need to make sure that you bring down the negative 3x. And then 14 minus 8 is 6. Box your variable. Divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. X equals negative 2. And then check your answer. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. 8 plus 6 is 14. All right, 6 minus 3x equals 21. Box your variable. Again, we have no plus sign in front of it, but you know it's positive, so the opposite or the inverse is negative. These cancel. Make sure you bring down the negative 3x. Very important. 21 minus 6 is going to be 15. And then make sure that you check your work. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. 6 plus 15 is 21. All right, again, these are one of the ones that I just flipped around, so they look a little weird, but they're the same thing. Box your variable. Find the constant. It's right here. The inverse of plus 2 is minus 2. These cancel. You're left with 3a. Bring down your equal sign. Negative 4 plus negative 2 is going to be negative 6. Divide by 3. And flip it around so that your variable is on the left. And always check your work. Three times negative, oops. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Okay, so here what I did is I put a distributive property problem in here. So all you're going to do is solve the distributive property to get your two-step equation. So 3 times x is 3x. Positive 3 times positive 5 is positive 15. And once you solve the distributive property, you have your two-step equation. Box your variable. You have plus 15, do minus 15, minus 15. Your 15s cancel. You're left with 3x equals 45 minus 15 is 30. Again, box your variable. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. X equals 10. Now, you can still check your answer. Anything with an equation, anything with an equal sign, you can always check your answer. And you have two choices here. You can plug it back into this original problem right here, or you can plug it into this problem right here, or you can plug it into both. It should work for any of them. I'm going to plug it back into the original problem here. So 3 times 10 is 30, plus 3 times 5 is 15. 30 plus 15 is 45. So 45 equals 45. All right, now here what I did is I did a combining like terms problem. So I have n plus 22 plus 3n equals 10, okay? So before I can actually solve my two-step equation, I need to combine some like terms. So remember that this is technically 1n, okay? So I need to combine this guy with this guy right here. So 1n plus 3n is going to be 4n plus 22 equals 10. Now I can go ahead and solve. Box my variable, minus 22, minus 22. So these guys are going to cancel. I'm left with 4n equals 10 minus 22. That's going to be negative 12. Again, box my variable, divide by 4, divide by 4. and I'm left with n equals -3. This time I'm going to show you by plugging it back into the two-step equation that we made. So 4 -3 plus 22 equals 10. 4 times -3 is -12 plus 22 equals 10. So -12 plus 22, that's going to be 10, equals 10. That works. Alright, here's another distributive property. Make sure you watch out for your negative. -5 times n is -5n. -5 times -2 is +10 equals -30. Alright, so we're going to box our variable. We're going to do -10 from both sides. So we have -5n equals -30 plus -10 is -40. So we're going to box the variable, divide by -5, divide by -5, n equals negative divided by a negative is a positive, so n equals 8. Now, you can plug it back into either problem in order to check. I'm going to just plug it back into the two-step equation this time. I think it's a little bit quicker for me, but like I said, you have an option to plug it back into either one that you want. However, you really should plug it back into one of them. Alright, -5 times 8 is -40, plus 10 equals -30. -40 plus 10, so different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. -30 equals -30. Alright, here I have a combining like terms problem. So I have 2d and 2d, and then I have a +8 and a +4. So I need to combine these like terms. 2d and 2d, that's going to be 4d. 8 plus 4 is going to be 12. Equals -16. I'm going to box my variable, -12, -12. My 12's cancel. I'm left with 4d equals -16 plus -12 is going to be -28. Box my variable, divided by 4, divided by 4. That's going to be d equals -7. Alright, again, throw it back into whichever equation you would like to. I'm going to put it back into the two-step equation here. Four times -7 is -28, plus 12 equals -16. So we have different signs here. So we're going to subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 16. 16, and then you keep the sign of the bigger number. -16 equals -16. So it worked out. Alright, that is the end of this lesson on two-step equations. Just like one-step equations, we are going to do a ton of practice in class, so you will become professionals. Let me know if you have any questions.